Really do. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All good, man. Happy to do it.
Yes, sir, man. And also, my bad about the Houston Dallas thing, man. I was talking to one of my cousins. Yeah, I was talking to one of my cousins who's in Dallas, and he was like, Houston's nowhere near Dallas. And I didn't know. I was like, damn.
Yeah, man. It's like Houston to Dallas it's not as far, but like almost from like Oakland to LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It's nowhere near. It's maybe about a 50-minute flight, and it's about 3.5, 4 hours driving pretty much. Yeah.
All right. Good show, man. But yeah, man. Just like I sent you the questions over, just the subjects we're gonna go over, just so you know I'm not asking no off the ball stuff or nothing like that.
Yeah.
All right, I appreciate it, man. And then let me hit record on my thing real quick.
All right.
So all right. Yo, man. What's good, Raider Nation? What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Byron from Byron Live 95 here with a special guest, a very, very special guest that I have been bugging his DMs for the past, 5-6 years, man. I apologize, man. But yeah, just really wanted to get this interview, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, Stanford Routt.
What's going on, man? Happy to do it, man. Happy to be on. Like I said, man, anything about the Raiders, I'm all in. So, man, much love. Appreciate you. Love everything you're doing.
All right. I appreciate it, man. Just to start off, man, how's your 2020 going so far?
Man, it's been going. I'll put it like that. Definitely will be glad to see 2021 get here. I think with the pandemic, obviously everybody's been affected by that in some capacity. And then, the other pandemic that we're going through is minorities within this country, within the racial inequality. So 2020 has definitely been from all aspects and from all angles, definitely a year that a lot of us will remember for a long, long time. And I think that our grandkids will be studying the year of 2020 in a myriad of ways in textbooks for years to come, man.
Most definitely, man. And yes, sir, I got a question about that at the very, very end about, everything you're doing. And I like what you're doing on there, is spreading awareness and justice, racial equality. I fuck with that heavy. Appreciate you doing that. Many of the, athletes out there that's not doing it, but you are. So I give big props to you already, man.
Cool. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir, man. Let's start all the way at the beginning. Your childhood all the way in Texas. I believe you grew up in the Austin area.
Yeah, ATX.
Yes, sir, man. Tell me a little bit about your childhood and tell me when you just decided to get into football around that time.
Man, I want to say I started playing football. I want to say I was 9. I was in 4th grade. No, I was 10. I was in 5th grade when I first started playing like Pop Warner, Little League, things like that. And originally, like I said, it was just, me and baseball pretty much for my early years. I started playing football about age 10, 5th grade, then went to 6th grade in middle school, then 7th grade and so forth. And I want to say that starting off, the thing that probably I loved the most, it was first of all Jerry Rice, because the 49ers were my favorite team growing up. I can say that out loud now.
It's all good. It's all good.
But when I was in 6th grade, and Deion Sanders went to the 49ers, and he missed those first 2 games, then played the last 14, Defense Player of the Year. They won the Super Bowl that year. Mm-hmm. And watching him play, but also the jerseys of the 49ers when it was the 94 season, the throwback, 75-year throwback with the red. They had the red jerseys with the white letters.
The white drop shadow. Yeah,
exactly. The black drop shadow. That to me right there, I fell in love with the 49ers. I fell in love with the cornerback position right there at that moment. And it was the interception that he had against Atlanta at the Georgia Dome, where he ran down the sideline looking at his former teammates. From that moment on, I was sold on the game of football from that moment on.
For sure, man. And then you go into high school, 2-star athlete, track. I already know you fast. You're blazing fast, man, out there on the track. So how was it balancing both football and track in high school?
Man, it really wasn't that hard at all because in high school, you can do that. Now, college, depending on your coach, it gets a little bit more hectic. But in high school, you know, you're playing football September through November, December, depending on when the state championship game is and all that. And then after then, you know, you're free. You may have some like off-season workouts during the athletic period or whatever, but track practice would be after school. So it really wasn't hard at all. But I only started running track in 7th grade just to get faster for football. I just realized that it was something that I was good at and it was fun, so I stuck with it. But otherwise, I never would have started running track had it not been just to get better on the football field.
So very interesting, man. Very interesting. And then you end up going to the University of Houston. Now, were there other colleges that you were trying to go to, or was it day one you knew you were going to Houston?
Man, because I'm now older, I can tell you this story.
All right.
And when I was in high school, I always wanted A&M or Oklahoma. Those are the two schools I wanted to go to. I made that very, very well known. A&M was heavily recruiting me. Oklahoma came to watch me practice a couple times. And I remember back in high school, I was a junior. And there was a chick that I always liked. And she wound up dating somebody else. And I remember that really put me in my feelings. It did. And so I used to always tease her about it. And so then I remember we had a class called webmastering back in high school. I was a senior. And we had to present a website to the class. And she presented her website to the class, and in big bold letters, it said "Hater of the Year Award, Stanford Routt." Yeah, exactly. So that, like, you know, here I am, senior. I'm a star on the football field, track, all of that. So I'm big man on campus. So you know, I can't take that. And so and this is where I learned several valuable lessons. Because she was the type that she'll get up in your face. Like, she's the type that she'll challenge you.
At once.
Exactly. So here she is challenging me, and I'm okay. I got this moment. Like, okay, I'm in class. What do? I can't back down, but I can't put my hands on her. Yeah. So what do I do? So I just kind of like mushed her face like that. Big mistake. Because then I got sent to the principal's office. Now, luckily, my principal, who was a woman at the time, she was like, you know what, Stan? I like you. I'm going to help you out, because if colleges find out about this, it's going to really mess you up. So she did a good job of sweeping it under the rug for me. My defensive coordinator, who I already didn't have the best relationship with, he now finds out that something happened in school today, but nobody's telling him. So he's already kind of upset with me. This week, we have Stony Point, our one of our rivals, homecoming week. My Texas A&M scout is coming to watch me play. Then they're going to offer me everything, this, and the other. Well, Stony Point was a passing team. And I believe it was Tuesday in practice. I think I messed up on a coverage, something like that. Coach is riding me hard. I'm like, Coach, quit tripping. I just messed up, whatever. He's like, Routt, go stand on the sideline. So Wednesday comes. I think I mess up on a coverage again. He's riding me. Coach, quit tripping. I'm going to get it come game time. He's like, Routt, go stand on the sideline. Thursday comes, and then that's when my D coordinator and the head coach, who were real tight at the time, that's when they tell me, Routt, you're not playing tomorrow. I'm like, bro, like, whatever, dude. Like, I know y'all bullshitting me.
Yeah.
So then game time comes. Like, no, for real. Like, I did not play. But you know what? I take that back. I'm lying. I did play in the game. They let me play on special teams.
Okay.
So I sat at the bench the whole game on defense. The whole game, played a little special teams. And from that point on, the Oklahomas, the A&Ms, the Arkansas, all of the big schools, they just seemed to just fall off the table, and everything just kind of dissipated. Yeah, so that's why I wound up going to University of Houston, because they were pretty much kind of like the last man standing. But I learned a valuable lesson at that moment. A, don't ever put your hands on women. B, listen to your coach. Be coachable. Those were two very valuable lessons that I learned back then, because it all worked out for the best. I wound up getting to my intended destination, but it was definitely not the way or the route, all pun intended, that I wanted to take to get there. So yeah, that definitely was something that I remember.
Damn, I did not know that. I thought it was just you were Houston, you were down there, you were like, all right, I'm just no doubt. I didn't. Hey, thank you for bringing that information to my side, man. That's crazy, man.
It was always A&M or Oklahoma for me. That's what it always was.
This show, man. So now you end up going to the University of Houston. So now, touching back on the question we just asked when I was talking about juggling track and football, and you said it was much easier in high school. How was it now doing that in college, now playing track and playing football?
It was difficult when I first got to U of H because my rookie year at U of H, we went 0-11. Yeah, 0-11. 2001 season. So for me, coming from high school where we were good in football and I was second fastest in the state in the 4A division, it was different. It was difficult because I didn't have any success on the football field as a team. Had some success, started as a true freshman, things like that. But that's when I decided, okay, you know what, I'll go out and start running track a little bit, because initially coming into school, I didn't really plan on running track at all. I didn't. But it's funny how life works out. So as I'm trying to run track my freshman year, our head coach at the time, he wasn't really keen on his ball players running track. So it was kind of difficult because I had to do the football off-season workouts and then go and do my track workouts, which was very, very daunting and taxing on me. So I wasn't really able to be at full strength or full speed, so to speak, in track my freshman year. Now, my sophomore year comes, that's when we changed head coaches. And that's when Art Briles comes in, and he had come from Texas Tech, where in the Big 12, their ball players run track, just like much of them do in the SEC. So things were easier because then he just sat me down. He's like, look, Routt, he said, I get it. You're talented on the track. I don't mind you running track in the spring. Whenever the football team is working out or whenever they're in the weight room, you don't have to do their full workout, but just be in the weight room with the guys. And you can do whatever workout you feel will help you on the track, but I still want you to be there with the guys. That way they see you, and it's not some, oh, you know, this guy, he doesn't even show up to football workouts and things like that. So after Coach Browse got there, it was very easy. And so, and I think the rest is history, because that running track in the spring helped me on the football field, helped me become a better sprinter. And I think it helped me more mentally, because whenever we were going against passing teams within our conference, I got tired a lot less than the other guys on the team and even other receivers that I went against. So it definitely worked out for both sides.
For sure, man. A blessing in disguise, nonetheless, right there. So yeah, that's dope that wasn't what you intended to do, but then you did, and then it actually helped you out on the football field. So like I said, that's dope as fuck, man. That really is. So now I'm gonna go to my most favorite subjects that I want to talk about, man. You get an invite to the NFL Combine in 2005, and you have one of the most legendary 40-yard dashes. What was it, a 4.27 when you came in there?
Yeah, 4.27. 4.27.
When you got there, was your target just to, I'm trying to be the fastest out here, I'm trying to get the record, or how did it come about when you were running the 40?
The 40 is probably one of the things at the combine that I was the least worried about, just because for me running track in the 60 and the 200 and things like that, I already knew the 40 was going to take care of itself. As long as I did not slip and fall, out of my start, I knew that the 40 was going to take care of itself. So I was not worried about that at all. I remember training. I was still actually training indoor track at the time a little bit, because I knew that, I knew the 40 was coming, but I also was still running indoor track. And I think that maybe a week before I had to leave to go to Indy, I think on the track I ran, I think a 4.17 with, my track coach hand timing me. So yeah. I knew the 40 was going to take care of itself. I knew that. For me, the main thing was the 5.10.5. It was the L drill. It was making sure that I was getting in and out of my breaks very smooth, and all the DB workouts and things like that. But the 40, that was actually something that was the least of my worries. But I knew that I was going to run fast. I knew that. At the time, I didn't even know what the record was because I really wasn't worried about it.
Gotcha.
I just knew that if I ran to my full potential, what I know I'm capable of, I knew that there would not be anybody there that would be able to run faster than me in any position.
That's so, man. And also, man, do you have that personal video of you running the 40, man? Because I've looked everywhere online, and I want to see that. There's a lot of Raider players that I don't get, but yeah. Do you have it?
Man, I don't think I do. And I'm trying to think here. I remember being at the one of the NFL boot camps for the broadcasting boot camp back in 2017 up there in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and they were supposed to send it to me. They just wound up not doing it. But yeah, I've actually never seen it myself. But like I said, I've had a few people kind of tell me that were part of the league office back then or whatever. But no, I've actually never seen it, my man.
Damn.
Yeah, man, I know.
I want to see it, man. I would just love to see all the Raider players just running that 40, man. But yeah, that's crazy though, man. And after the combine, draft day is coming up. Did you get any? Did any teams let you know that, hey, if you're at this certain spot, we might take you, or how'd that go?
I knew that actually my DB coach at U of H, my last year there, he's now special teams coach with the Giants. He was with the Broncos at the time. And I remember he told me after I got drafted and everything, is like, yeah, Stan, like, we would have taken you in the second round. I knew that the Titans, if I would have been still there when they were picking in the second round, they probably would have taken me. So I knew that I was not going to last past the second round. It was just a matter of would I be late first or in the second round. But I knew that I was going to be in the top 64 picks. It was just a matter of how high or how low within that 64.
Right. And then did Oakland tell you, like, hey, if you're right here, or what was it like with Oakland talking to you?
I actually never heard anything from Oakland at all. And so I remember Calvin Branch came down to my to my pro day at U of H back in March of 2005, and he worked me out a little bit. I think Clayton Lopez, the DB coach at the time, I think he may have been there as well. Memory doesn't quite serve me as much. It was so far back, but no, I didn't hear anything from them, anything extra, anything like that. And I remember after I got drafted, Calvin, he told me, he's like, Routt, I could have told you at your pro day when I was there that we were taking you, but he didn't. But no, I never heard anything from Oakland, any sort of extra attention, any sort of anything like that. Didn't hear a peep. So and as I come to find out later on, even my boy Fabian Washington, he was taken in the first round ahead of me that year to the Oakland Raiders. He didn't hear anything from Oakland either. So I guess it's a very common thing to get drafted by a team that you don't hear much from. And I think a lot of that has to do with because they're already sure and they're sold on you. So gotcha. What else I got to talk to you about? I already know that I like you. I already know that if you're there, I'm going to pick you. So gotcha. We really don't need to have, extra dialogue versus teams that still want to gather and garner more information from you.
For sure, man. For sure. And then draft day comes, you get the call that you're going to Oakland. Do you remember where you were at, what you were doing at that time that you got that phone call?
Oh, I can tell you exactly where I was at. In Austin, Texas, my hometown. I drove back that day during draft day because back then, the draft was on Saturday, Sunday, not Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I knew that I wasn't going top 15, top 20. I knew that. So yeah. I want to say that I went and started driving home maybe about 11 o'clock that morning, something like that. Got home about 1 o'clock, something like that. The draft always starts at noon Central Time, at least it used to back then. And so I get home, I think it's maybe pick 20, 21, something like. I just saw Fabian and just gone off the board. Aaron Rodgers just went off the board. My boy Jason Campbell out of Auburn going off the board to the Redskins. So now it's picks 25, 26. And now I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me start paying attention. And so then, just for my own vanity purposes, I wanted to go in the first round like everybody else does. So the first round now ends. Okay, I didn't go first round. I'm already kind of freaking out. I'm getting a little antsy, getting a little anxiety. Okay. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the Highland Mall. It's a mall in Austin, Texas. It's since been, shut down. And I went to my favorite pizza place, Cazzoli's Pizza, and I'm standing in line, and then that's when I get a phone call, and it's a private number, and everybody I know, their number's saved in my phone, so
Right.
I'm already know, okay, this might be something. So I answer the phone, and I think I forget, it's either Norm Turner or Al, I forget. But first, I think it's a woman. She's like, Stanford Routt. She's like, yes, I have Al Davis on the phone for you. And then I'm like, okay, patching through. And then he's like, man, he's like, would you like to be an Oakland Raider? I'm like, F yeah, I would like to be an Oakland Raider. So yeah, I still remember that to this day. I was standing in line getting a $2 slice of pizza from Cazzoli's Pizza at Highland Mall, Austin, Texas, April, I think 27th, 2005, man.
Wow, man. That's crazy. You standing in line just trying to get something to eat, and then your life changes on the phone just like that.
It's crazy. Like that, man. Yeah, things have never been the same since.
I'd imagine. So now, man, you go into training camp. It's your first time being in the NFL, man. Tell me the differences you saw immediately from playing and just playing and practicing in the college setting, now going to the NFL. How was that a drastic change for you?
I would probably say it was probably just the simple fact that everybody on the field, from left tackle to right defensive end to corner to linebacker to fullback to long snapper to kicker, everybody was the best at their school or their college they went to. Everybody was the best. And coming in, we got Randy Moss, I got Charles Woodson, I got Warren Sapp. So I'm looking at three GOATs just walking around the facility. That was the shock right there, number one. Number two, I'd probably say the speed of the game, how everything just happened so fast, where you could have a guy who maybe on paper runs a 4.6 40. Okay, not that fast, but the speed that he'll get in and out of his breaks, things like that. That probably was the biggest I'd probably say surprise when I first had that first mini camp in Oakland way back then. I'd probably say the speed of the game.
Oh man, I couldn't imagine this. Did it give you those butterflies in your stomach? Like it, I know it was probably one of the most nervous times for you.
No question. But the thing is that I've been preparing mentally, because one of my homeboys, he told me, he's like, Routt, you're gonna get drafted on a freaking Saturday or Sunday, whatever, and then a week later you're gonna be in minicamp lined up against some veteran receiver that's probably been to several Pro Bowls. So get your mind right. So it definitely was a challenge that I wanted to embrace, that I tried to embrace from the very beginning, because I knew, okay, I'm coming in second round pick. Obviously, they drafted me for a reason, not to just come in and be some project guy, ride the pine or whatever. So I definitely wanted to make sure that I came in and showed that, okay, you know what, I belong on this stage.
That's so, man. And do you have a moment during your rookie year, a rookie moment where you're like, damn, this is like the end of, like, whether it was getting beat or you got hit a certain way, or do you remember where you're like, oh shit, like this is the real fucking deal right here?
I would probably have to go with the first game of the season, opening up against New England Patriots at Gillette Stadium. It was Thursday night football, I believe, or Monday night. I forget, but they had the opening game because they just won the Super Bowl prior to, and Deion Branch won the MVP award in the Super Bowl the year prior against the Philadelphia Eagles out there at Alltel Stadium, Jacksonville, Florida. And I had never played nickelback a day in my life. And I played pretty good at corner throughout OTAs. I think I had maybe 5 picks throughout OTAs, things like that. So, okay, we want to get this kid Routt on the field. Not going to start over Asomugha, not going to start over Charles Woodson. So we'll just put him in the slot. They tell me that the first day of training camp. I have no idea what's going on. I don't understand the position. And so we get to the first game of the season against the New England Patriots. I'm going against Deion Branch, best slot receiver in the game, won the Super Bowl MVP award as a slot receiver. And I want to say, man, like he had about 8 or 9 catches for like 90 yards. Thank God he didn't go for a bill against me in the first game. But that was a tough game because he spun me around like a spinning top over and over and over again. I'd probably say that was like my hello rookie, welcome to the NFL moment right there. And I learned very quickly how this game is played. And Deion Branch went to Louisville, which was a part of Conference USA in my conference back when I was in college. But he was a senior when I was a sophomore, so I didn't play against him much. But I definitely remember that still to this day. That was a hello rookie, welcome to the NFL moment, and I think it made me better down the line because seeing that speed of the game. Deion Branch is what, 5'9", maybe a 4'5", 4'4", 40 maybe, but the intricacy that he's getting in and out of his breaks, the speed, the quickness, things like that. Not fast on paper. But man, in and out of those breaks, extremely quicker than a hiccup. So I learned that football is not about height, weight, speed, things like that. It's about, can you play this game and how fast can you run on the field in your pads, not just lining up for a 40 at the combine.
For sure, man. For sure. Also, man, you've played in the Coliseum a lot. I've always wanted to ask a Raider player this. How was it, honest opinion, how was it playing on that dirt infield? How was it just running, tackling, getting in and out of breaks on that shit?
I can tell you like this, man, that Warren Sapp said it best. He said that dirt ain't lost a fight yet because you hit that dirt, believe me, you will feel everything that it brings. I think that it was something that was frustrating early on because usually the A season ends around late September, something like that. So the first 2 or 3 games of the year, we actually hope that we got away games, majority first games of the year, so we don't have to play on the dirt. But nonetheless, it actually made you a better player because it taught you how to keep your feet underneath you. And it taught you how to have better footwork so you don't slip on the dirt, because you slip on that dirt playing man coverage against some receiver, it's 6 points. So it definitely was something that made you a better player. But nonetheless, like, nobody liked playing on it. You just understood that, okay, it is what it is, that as long as the A's are playing baseball right now, there's going to be dirt right there, and you just found a way to deal with it.
For sure, man. Also, man, your first 2 years, you didn't start too much. You know, they had you on the sidelines, nickel, all that. How'd it feel? 2007, I want to say, is the correct year that you started getting a lot more. You started a lot more games.
Yeah.
How was it just from coming off the bench, just watching the game like that, barely getting into now? It's your time. You're the actually starting corner.
Wow, I loved it. I think it was right after we played the Denver Broncos, the second game of the season. We had lost to them. Jay Cutler was the quarterback. I think we are 0-2, I think, to start off the year back in 2007. And then Robbo comes up to me, I think, that Wednesday morning, which was right before install, which is the first day of the work week in the NFL. And Robbo's like, "Hey, Routt, you're starting this week." And at first I'm like, kind of, took me off guard a little bit, but I'm like, okay, cool. Like, this is what I've been waiting for. So it definitely was a challenge that I wanted to embrace, no question. And I think that having a few spurt moments where I started against San Francisco, 06, got my first career pick against Alex Smith in the first quarter, starting against the Denver Broncos the week after that, and then starting the last game of the season, I think in 06. And things like that actually gave me like a little bit of like a glimpse into the workload, things like that. But once I became a starter, oh man, I loved that because, I mean, that's what I wanted all along.
Yes, sir, man. Give you a chance to get on the field, and you had 3 interceptions, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
You had 3 interceptions that year.
Yes.
Oh, yes, sir.
07.
So how was it for you, man? Actually, just getting some interceptions, just being out there, being like, "Yo, I can actually do this. This is the moment I've been waiting for."
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the best feelings in the world. I think we started off that year in 07 against the Detroit Lions. Yeah, Calvin Johnson's first game. And I got an interception off of John Kidna. I think he was throwing to Roy Williams. And I think I just gone in because I think Fabian maybe had an ankle twist or something like that. So I was in there for about like 5 plays. I got my first interception of that season. And then I'm starting. We played Miami Dolphins. I think that was the 4th game of the year, right before the bye week. I had an INT again in that game. Trent Green was the quarterback. I think it was thrown to Chris Chambers. And then we had another, and then 3-4 weeks later, we played the Kansas City Chiefs in Oakland against one of my boys, Dwayne Bowe.
Yes, sir.
They tried me on a 9 route. I picked him off. So I started off the year pretty good, getting 3 INTs. So it definitely does a lot for your confidence, and you kind of calm down a little bit because now you don't have the anxiety, and you already know playing football or just simply having success early. Now it's no longer, I think I can do this. Now it's, I know I can.
All right, man. Good show, man. And then you go into 2008, 2009, they take you out of that starting lineup.
Yeah.
How did it feel, for your confidence for to be like, dang, I'm actually out here playing and stuff. And then the next 2 years are like, they push you off to the side, like, nah, it's.
Man, that, I tell you, 08 and 09 were some very trying years for me. I remember back in 07, Lane Kiffin was our head coach, and Lane is a decent guy. A lot of guys on the team really didn't care too much for him, to be honest with you, because of how he was within the locker room or within the facility, not his coaching, just things like that, how he was as a person. And so I still remember going March 2008, they traded for D'Angelo Hall, which I get it. D Hall was one of the best cornerbacks in the league at the time. Went to the Pro Bowl twice in Atlanta, things like that. So I get it. I understood it. But I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm not going to be in a backup. Like, I wanted to be traded, but Al just wouldn't do it. And so they had franchised Nnamdi that 08 season. Nnamdi winds up playing flawless, goes to the Pro Bowls to starter, things like that. And I remember I was so disgruntled in that 2008 season. Lane Kiffin wound up getting fired, I think, after the 4th game of the year, something like that. And then that's when Tom Cable became the head coach. And I was such a disgruntled employee as far as my body language throughout the facility, even when I was on the field, special teams. It was so down. It was so downtrodden that it would actually probably bring down everybody else just from looking at me. And so I remember after they released D Hall, because as good as D Hall was, he just wasn't a fit for our man-to-man scheme. Yeah. He just wasn't the right fit. And so after they release him on a Tuesday night, I'm thinking, okay, I'm probably going to get my spot back. Wednesday morning, Tom Cable's like, no, Routt, you're not starting. Chris Johnson is. And so much of that was my negative attitude that I had for so long that he had seen from when he was just an O-line coach. Now he's the head coach. It's like, no, like, Routt, your approach to the game sucks. And you need to do better at that. And for a long time, I actually fought him on it. Like, no, I'm not going to sit up here and be a great employee when I'm not starting, and I know I should be. So that was something that was very tumultuous throughout the 08 season. And then 09 season comes along, and I'm still not starting, disgruntled, things like that. And then I want to say it made me a better player, and it made me a better person because I finally understood what Tom Cable was trying to teach me. Because for the longest time, I didn't like it. But once I finally got my head out of my ass and I started realizing, okay, you know what? It's not that he has a problem with me. He has a problem with my approach to the game, because Tom Cable wants everybody bought in, everybody all in. I wasn't all in. And that's something that I had to go ahead and be honest with myself about. And so 2010 comes along. That's when it's now an uncapped year because the new CBA has not been signed. It has not been agreed to. So it makes 2010 an uncapped year. Well, in my specific instance, when I first got drafted, I signed a 5-year contract. Well, so 2010, I was supposed to be a free agent. But because it was an uncapped year, you now have to have 6 years of NFL experience to be an unrestricted free agent. So I'm now thus a restricted free agent where the owners put a tender on a certain player, 3rd round tender, 2nd round, 1st round, or original round, or 1st and 3rd round. Well, Al gave me a 1st and 3rd round tender, which is the highest that you can have. And so I knew then I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe he's trying to give me my chance to actually really get on the field again. And so that's when in training camp, it was pretty much kind of like an open competition. And I won the job in training camp. And then that's when I was full-time starter again. But at that time, I then liked Tom Cable throughout all of the 2010 season because I finally understood what he was trying to get out of me. And so after the 2010 season, he doesn't return. Hugh Jackson is now the head coach. And I remember doing my exit meeting with Tom Cable after the 2010 season when I probably had my best statistical year, probably as far as like completion percentage against. I told Tom, I was like, man, Tom, I know that a whole lot of things about whether you're going to come back or not or whatever, man. I just want to let you know, man, that like, I hope that you're back. So, you got my vote of confidence. But obviously, things didn't work out like that. But that was definitely a learning experience when Tom Cable did not give me my starting spot back, because I learned that, okay, yeah, you can play. Yeah, you're a pretty good player, but I don't like your approach to the game. So it definitely taught me a lot about being an employee and being a professional, not just, oh, well, you know what, I can cover good, so I should be out there. So definitely a learning experience, man.
The show, man. And yeah, that's right where I was getting to, man. In 2010, a complete 180. You have a breakout year.
Yeah.
I think 42% of passes completed, wide receivers going to your side. Your guys' secondary was the second best in the NFL. It was with you, Nnamdi, Michael Huff, Tyvon Branch. Yeah. You end up getting 2 picks. You got a pick 6. I think that you shared recently. In Kansas City. 13 pass deflections. How did it feel now that you were actually getting into your groove, with this? Was it something different? I was going to ask that question, but I think you gave me the answer with Tom Cable gave you a little fire in you.
I think that really for the most part was I actually was able to now bring to the table what I had learned in 2008. I just wasn't starting, so I couldn't bring it to the table. I want to say in the off season of 2008 is when I started to find my sweet spot as far as press man coverage, as far as my timing, getting my hand placement right, the feather technique versus being steady at the line of scrimmage like Nnamdi. I learned a lot from Nnamdi Asomugha of how he was patient at the line of scrimmage. When a receiver comes off and gives you that first move, Nnamdi was always patient. Because what happens is he now closes that gap down because he doesn't back up. A lot of corners, whenever the receiver makes his first move, a corner's first instinct is to go ahead and kind of give a little space. Well, you just created separation between you and the receiver. Nnamdi would sit hard right there, so the receiver actually came closer to Nnamdi. He's able to get his hands on you, ride you, get on the correct shoulder, things like that. So I started really getting my sweet spot in 2008 off-season OTAs, minicamp, things like that, because Nnamdi was gone. He hadn't reported yet because he was franchised. So I was starting in his place. But when I wasn't on the field as a starting corner, things like that, just mainly playing in the nickel, right, I wasn't able to bring what I felt like I had developed to the field. And then 2009, I'm still not starting, things like that. But in 2010, that's when I started really getting into my groove as far as my timing at the line of scrimmage and then studying film. Because I remember so many times Nnamdi studied film really, really well. And there were times where I would be playing nickelback in 08 or 09. We'd come off the field. I would go and I would tell him something, hey man, that was a great play over there. And he'd almost kind of like shut me up because he's taking a beeline to the sideline, about to go right down on the notepad. He's like, dragging equals the double slants, because he heard the quarterback make a check and then they gave slants. So he's like, hey, Routt, shut up. Because I got to go ahead and write this down because, okay, I'm picking up on something. Whenever quarterback calls dragging, we got double slants coming. So just picking up a few things from him on that aspect. And then, me actually being able to bring it to the field, being able to be on the field, I think is probably what really helped me catch my stride in that 2010 season.
Yes, sir, man. I remember in 2010, I was like, this cannot be the same Stanford Routt. No disrespect right there. When I was watching that show, I was like, this ain't the same dude I saw back a couple of years ago. That's when I was like, all right, yeah, he's starting to get in the stride. And like I said, hard work pays off. You had Tom Cable, like I said, you didn't like. And then, you knew after a while, like, hey, he just doesn't like my approach to the game. And it ends up having a best statistical year for you in 2010. So now 2011 comes around, man. And this was the NFL lockout year, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And I remember there weren't a lot of reports on the free agencies, and I do know that Nnamdi was a free agent. Did you think he was, like I said, you've been with him ever since you were a rookie all the way till now? Did you think he was coming back, or was he still not telling anybody, or how was that situation?
Oh no, we knew he wasn't coming back.
Oh, he wasn't coming back?
Oh no, and not because not because he didn't like Oakland, not because of that. I think that Nnamdi was at a place where, number one, Al wasn't going to be able to afford him, myself, and Michael Huck. He wasn't. And with Nnamdi, and obviously, I don't want to count the next man's money, but since, we're talking about it, I'll go ahead and just tell you about it. With Nnamdi's contract, because he was so good, the third year of his contract had some sort of like escalator in it where the third year he now has to be paid either, I think, 17 million or like the average of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league at the time. Right. So something about if he didn't get an INT that voided the third year. So that's what made him a free agent. Now in the 2010 season, nobody threw at him, barely get any INTs. Him and Revis were the starting corners in 2010 Pro Bowl because that's how great they were. And both of them had no INTs the whole year. So that's what made him a free agent. And Al simply was not going to pay a corner $17 million a year in 2011. So we already kind of knew Nnamdi was not coming back simply because Al wasn't going to be able to afford all 3 of us. Right. So Al just chose to bring back Huff and myself because he knew he couldn't afford Nnamdi. Not because he didn't want him, he just couldn't afford him. And Nnamdi knew, hey, I'm not giving you a hometown discount. No, you can't afford me. I get it. No hard feelings. So I'm going to go somewhere else. And also at the time, he was looking to go somewhere where he could win. But obviously that didn't happen in Philadelphia. But no, I mean, we pretty much knew that Nnamdi was a goner, not because nobody wanted him, but just for the economics and the dollars and cents of how everything was transpiring throughout the secondary.
Yeah, the business part of the game. Okay, I understand that. And how did it feel now in 2011? Did they let you know right away that you were about to be the starting corner, or were you going to have to battle that with Chris Johnson? Or how did that work after Nnamdi left going into camp?
Oh, well, in 2011, I had just got my free agent deal as far as re-signing with the Raiders, so I already knew I was starting. It was just a matter of who was going to be starting alongside me. And starting off, it was Chris Johnson. Then CJ got hurt, and then I think he had a growing injury or something like that. And then that's when Lito Shepherd. That's when he started starting a little bit. So things like that. But yeah, 2011. So crazy. After Al passed, that's when 2011 became very, very up and down from every aspect, from who was trying to have control within the organization, to the play calling, to defensive play calling, to personnel changes, things like that. After Al passed, that's when a lot of things went off the rails, and it started to really, really affect the players.
For sure, man. And then I noticed, 2011, you get a new head coach with Hugh Jackson. Yeah. And I was talking to you about it. You've now been with the Raiders 7 years now, and this is now the 5th head coach. How is it? Is it frustrating knowing that you have a coach and then next you don't know if he's coming back, and then you have another person with another scheme and then another? How was it for you having now your 5th head coach going into year 7?
I think that my rookie year having Norv Turner, then second year having Art Shell, then third year having Lane Kiffin, and then Tom Cable, all within my first 4 years, you pretty much just kind of got numb to it. Where like, okay, it's a revolving door. It is what it is. And one of the things I learned from Nnamdi and even Charles Woodson and even a Randy Moss was whatever's going on up there in the front office, whatever, you can't control that. But having a new head coach, this, that, and the other, that has nothing to do with you covering this receiver and tackling the running back. Has nothing to do with anything. So for a lot of players, you just know that that's what's going on within the organization right now, and you don't let that affect your play, you don't try to let that affect your play. You try to block it out and just grow numb to the madness. But pretty much, you're kind of used to it by year 3 or 4. That's just kind of like how it was, we end the season, and then we already know we're going to find out about our new head coach somehow, some way on ESPN with the bottom ticker somewhere around late January, early February. We'll find out when the rest of the world finds out. So you just you just understand it and just just go with the flow.
Good show, man. And now in 2011, man, you had a career high in interceptions. You had 4,
Yeah.
15 pass deflections, man. So you're playing really good at this point. Were there any personal goals that now you knew you were to start in 2011? Did you have any personal goals in your head, like, okay, I want to be this type of player, get this many interceptions, or what was the thought process going through your head at that time?
I'd probably say my only goal was, number one, I wanted to win the division, wanted to go to the playoffs. And then also I wanted to go to the Pro Bowl. I think I made Pro Bowl alternate that season. But I finished pretty high, like I think in completions allowed, INTs, but I definitely wanted us to go to the playoffs. That was my main focus of all. And then also we all knew as a secondary, the golden goose, Nnamdi Asomugha is gone. We all knew that. So we wanted to, as a collectively, we wanted to make sure that we could go ahead, play well throughout the season and go to the playoffs, because we knew that was something that the Raiders hadn't done in such a long time. I think it was 2002, the last time before the 2016 season. So that was probably, those things as far as maybe the goals that you're speaking of. But, like I said, once Al passed, that's when a lot of things changed. And that's when it became a situation where now we're not only fighting the other teams that we're playing against, now we're fighting a whole lot of turmoil and uncertainty and just a lot of mutiny going on within the organization.
Gotcha, man. Gotcha. And then what was the question I was going to ask just now? Oh, yeah. Speaking of Al Davis, man, do you remember the day that where you were at when you guys got the call that Al had fatefully passed that morning?
Man, I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was, I think, October 11th, I want to say, something like that, October 6th, somewhere around the first part of October. And we had just landed in Houston to play the Texans. And it was a Friday night. And I remember how, I think it was, he passed that Friday night. And I think I saw the ESPN ticker maybe Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, something like that. Then we had a team meeting around 9. That's when Hugh Jackson told us. But I guess you could say the sign was kind of there because Al didn't make the trip to Houston. And he always was on the plane to all the away games. Always was. So I guess, that was a sign in itself, the fact that he didn't make the trip because, apparently he was really, really sick. But yes, I still remember Hugh Jackson telling us that morning, Saturday morning in Houston, I believe was at the Greenway Intercontinental Hotel that Saturday morning, October 11th, something like that. I still remember that to this day, yes.
And how difficult was it that you guys just heard that Al had just passed away, and now here it is the next day, y'all still got a football game, you guys still got to go out there and perform?
Yeah, it was kind of difficult, for a lot of people that Al actually personally drafted, or people like myself, because so many people said that Al Davis loved me a whole lot, even though a lot of people thought me and him were really, really close. I can count on one hand how many times me and Al Davis actually had a conversation, and 3 of those times were, "Hello, Mr. Davis, how you doing?" "Yes, I'm doing fine, Mr. Routt. Have a nice day." Like okay. that quick in passing through the facility. Yeah, it was difficult. It was. I still remember going out in the game. But once the game starts, it's now just football. Yeah. And so you're not quite thinking about it as much. We're playing the Houston Texans. They're having a good season. They won the division that year in the AFC South. And I still remember the final game of the final play of the game. We wind up getting a pass breakup. Matt Schaub rolls to his left. And we actually had 10 guys on the field at the time. And we're still able to find a way to get off. But, I think in a lot of ways, we actually had 11 on the field at the time. But, yeah, I still remember that. And, I think that was great for us to be able to win that game for him.
That's what's up, man. Did you know at the time that there were 10, or you didn't know until after the play was over that there was only 10 men out there?
No, I didn't know until I think it was maybe on the plane ride home, where somebody told me, it's like, dude, we only had 10 guys on the field. And I'm just like, man, like, I'm so lucky. I'm so glad that we were lucky to actually win the game because, man, like, losing the game, final play is already bad enough. you lose a game, final play, having only 10 guys on the field, man, like things like that are very difficult to come back from mentally as a team and as a unit.
For sure, man. And then, like I say, the goal was playoffs. Week 17, you guys have a chance against the San Diego Chargers in Oakland. I know everybody was hyped knowing that this could be it. How was it? I hate to put it that way. How was it that at the end it just didn't come down to what it was?
I mean, to be honest with you, man, when we left, when Al passed, so much of the organization changed because that's when a lot of people started trying to flex their muscle. So especially after Al passed, we started running a whole lot more defensive coverages, defensive philosophies, schemes were changing. That, mind you, we didn't have an OTA. We had a little bit of a training camp, obviously, because the lockout ended or whatever. But we were a man coverage team all throughout my years to Oakland, throughout my years in Oakland. Then all of a sudden, we become a zone team. Where now we're running all these zone coverages, and a lot of guys weren't really comfortable with the zone coverages because we hadn't worked on it. Didn't even have no OTAs to go ahead and work on that. So that's why you saw we were 7-4 going into December. We lose to Detroit, we lose to Green Bay, we lose to the Chargers, and we lose to, I think, we went 1-4 in December. I forget, we beat the Chiefs, but we lost to, and I think that, the Miami Dolphins. We went 1-4, and so much of that was we didn't trust the scheme. We didn't trust each other because we went from man coverage, Raider 3, jet coverage, things like that, now to trap coverage, running cover 2. We're running some cover 3, and things that we hadn't worked on, things that we weren't comfortable with. So by the time we got to San Diego, and I can say this now, we did not have much confidence that we can actually go out there and stop a Phillip Rivers, Malcolm Floyd, Vincent Jackson, Antonio Gates led offense. We knew that, okay, we want to win the game. We do. But as far as having the confidence that, okay, we're all on the same page, we know what we're doing, we trust one another, we trust the play calling, we trust the scheme, things like that. It was not a whole lot of confidence coming from a lot of the guys on the defense side of the ball, to say the least. And I still remember to Tim Tebow. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Denver lost the last game of the season to the Chiefs. And I remember fourth quarter, the game is still within reach against the San Diego Chargers. And our fans were chanting, Denver lost, Denver lost, Denver lost. Basically telling us like, hey guys, if you can get your head out your ass and win the game, y'all can win the division and go to the playoffs. But I think mentally as a team, I think by that point we were shot mentally as a team as far as like the confidence within the coaching staff and in the scheme that we're playing.
For sure, man. I think we got like 4 minutes left, so I'm just gonna speed through these last ones, man.
Go ahead, man. You can go ahead and finish out your list of questions. By all means, if we go over, then you know what, we go over.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Thank you, man. Thank you again, man. So at the end of the season, February comes. Did you know at all that they were going to let you go, or were there signs that you thought that they were going to go in a different direction or anything like that?
I actually had a little bit of an inkling. One of my homeboys, he actually asked me a question one day, and when Dennis Allen got the head coaching job, and I don't think I had heard from Dennis the entire time from him getting the head coaching job until them releasing me. I knew that was kind of odd. And so I wasn't completely shocked, but it was really interesting because when Reggie McKenzie first got there, when he first signed on as a GM, Reggie McKenzie wanted to try to send a message, throughout the organization, to show that, hey, this is a new regime and we're going to do things differently, whatever. So it's weird because of my contract, I still had another $10 million guaranteed on my contract. So as he's giving me the phone call that, hey, we're going to release you, they're writing me a check as they're making the phone call. So as I'm walking out of the door, figuratively, they're putting an 8-figure check in my back pocket as I'm walking out of the door. And I think for Reggie McKenzie, he did not realize that I still had guaranteed money left on my contract because, like I said, he's doing it more for a reason of, okay, you know, this is what I'm going to do. I got to find one of the bigger players and I got to cut them to show everybody I mean business and things like that. So I wasn't completely shocked at all. I thought it was idiotic because as soon as he cuts me, they're then in the market looking for somebody to replace me. And it's now 2020. He left about 2 years ago, and they still haven't all the way fully replaced myself or even Nnamdi Asomugha or even Michael Huff and Tyvon Branch, whatever. Although, like I said, I love the way they're playing right now.
Yeah.
Shout out to them being 5-3, Raider Nation. But, you know, nonetheless, it was something that I didn't like. I'm not going to sit up here and BS you. I didn't like it. I wanted to finish my career in Oakland. But at the same time, I understood with him now becoming the new GM, he wants to try to send a message. I thought that was the dumb message to send because it simply cost you financially. And that same season, I think the Raiders went 4-12, something like that. So what did you really gain from it? But nonetheless, like I said, you know, that's life. Life happens, and you know, you learn from it, you move on.
For sure, man. And then I meant to ask this in the beginning. My bad. Sorry if I'm all over the place, man. But yeah 7 years in Oakland. I've always wanted to ask a Raider player this, man. So, excluding yourself, because I know you would pick yourself. You knew that the Raiders had speed. Tyvon Branch, DeMarcus Van Dyke, Fabian
DVD.
Washington, all the speedsters, Darius Hayward-Bay, Jacoby Ford, all that. Was there ever, if you could pick one player that you saw either on training camp or on the field that you're like, wow, I've never seen that type of speed before, what one player would that be, excluding yourself?
I would probably have to go with, in my years in Oakland, I would probably have to go with, I've never seen that type of, I would have to go with two guys.
Okay.
Both of them played receiver, and I would have to go with Jacoby Ford, who really, really could run. I think he ran like 6'5" in the 60 at Clemson, ran 10 flat, and you could definitely see it on the field once he finally gets going. And then I'd say above him would be Randy Moss. And a lot of people would say Randy Moss ran a 4.2 at Florida State, this, that, and the other. Randy Moss ran as fast as he wanted to, period. Gotcha. And that right there was probably something that you don't see that often. He didn't run a 4.1. He didn't run a 4.2. He ran as fast as he wanted. And you rarely ever saw somebody able to stay with him stride for stride because he had a get up like no other. And that's why, obviously, you know, Hall of Famer, you know, I mean, I think everybody knows who that is. But yeah, I'd probably say Jacoby Ford, and then above him, Randy Moss.
Good show, man. And if I know this is going to sound like a dumb question, but if there was you in your prime, everybody else in their prime with their speed, and everybody, all the speedsters, including Randy Moss, let's just say there was a race, whether it was a foot race, track, or whatever. Do you feel confident a prime Stanford Routt could beat everybody there?
I would probably ask you what race, as far as what's the distance?
I'll say 40 yards. Like, let's just go like 40 yards.
In 40 yards, I'd probably say in 40 yards, I think that I could have, well, statistically, Jacoby ran a 4.28. I ran 4.27. So statistically, yeah, I could beat him. I thought Jacoby was really, really fast at his days in Clemson in the 60, really, really fast. And Moss, statistically on paper, but I think it would just really depend on if I had a good day or not, as far as getting out of the blocks or getting out of the start. That would have probably been the tell-all for me, was how was my start? If my start is where it needs to be, yes. But if it's not, where oftentimes it wasn't, because my best event in track and field was the 200. But if my start was not good, no, I wasn't going to come back and catch them or anything like that.
I got you, man. I appreciate you asking that question, man. And now we're almost done, bro. I got like 4 subjects and then that'll be it. Because I know you're a busy man and stuff, and I appreciate the opportunity again.
Yeah, man. Do your thing. Do your thing.
I appreciate it. Now you're a free agent for the first time ever. And I know there was a lot of teams that actually reached out to you. It wasn't like it was a couple. It was like, I think the Colts, Chiefs. Oh man, I'm trying to remember right now. Was it the Broncos? Yeah. So what came down to the decision for you to go to Kansas City?
Oh, I'd say at the time I thought that the way Kansas City was structured, I thought the coaching staff, with them having championship Super Bowl pedigree, I thought that would have been a good fit for me going there, just based off of what I thought that I was getting myself into. And then also, I think that playing alongside Brandon Flowers, somebody I could also go ahead and learn from, I could grow with as well with him. Eric Berry, him being there, and then Derek Johnson. That's another guy that we came up together, 05 draft class. We were roommates at the combine, had the same agent. So I felt a level of familiarity there. So I felt like Kansas City was the best fit.
Yes, so, man. And while you were there, you got 2 interceptions. One of those interceptions, I remember I was cussing at the TV like crazy at you, man. Nothing personal. It was just the first game.
I get it.
Yeah. KC, man, the first play of the game.
First play.
You're covering Darius Hayward-Bay. They throw it to your side. But before the interception happened, did you even think they were going to test you like that? And how shocked?
Come on now. Former team? Like, come on now. And I remember the game before against Tampa Bay. I was going against, I forget his name. He was a young guy out of Syracuse, receiver for them back then for Tampa Bay. And I remember it was a 9 route. And I actually went up to go pick the ball, and he actually came over my back to go ahead and take it from me, and he wound up scoring. So I didn't play well in that Tampa Bay game right before the game against the Raiders. And then there was another play in the Tampa Bay game. Tyquan Underwood tries me on a skinny post. I actually jump up, tip the ball in the air to break up the pass. Somehow, some way, the ball goes straight up. It doesn't go down to the ground, doesn't go away. It goes straight up. And so I'm jumping up to tip it, but I fall down. Tyquan Underwood stays on his feet. Ball literally flutters right into his hands. He winds up going maybe about 20, 30 yards. Big play for them. We wound up losing that game. So, but just off of the simple fact that it is my former team, it's Dennis Allen, it is Reggie McKenzie. He cut me. He wants to show, hey, this is why we cut Routt. And so things like that, I already knew that, like, I am out of my mind if I think this team is not going to try me. Now, as far as the first play of the game, that's where something that I learned from Nnamdi was just the film study. Because the first play of the game, it was 21 personnel. It was a pro set, and it was a 1st and 10 on the 20-yard line. And they had shown that same pass concept, which was just all goes, against the Atlanta Falcons a few weeks before when they were backed up. It was the same formation, the same look. And so usually I play press man in our man coverage. But this time on this play, I saw the formation. I'm like, this is the same thing they did against Atlanta, except they were backed up. So I'm thinking to myself, 9 route. And then I see DHB. We all know DHB can run. I'm thinking 9 route. Okay, so I'm like, okay. I want to put myself in position to really have the best opportunity to break this play up because I know DHB can run. Right. So I get up to the line of scrimmage. As soon as Carson Palmer goes and drops back, I bail. I don't even play press man. I bail from the outside shoulder. That way I can see through DHB to Carson. And as soon as he threw it, I'm like, okay, I see what type of game this is. So I want to make sure that I struck blood first. Was the first to strike blood simply because, okay, I can kind of see where this is going. So the film study is what led me being able to go ahead and play bail technique instead of regular press man coverage to get that INT.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I remember that play vividly. I remember I think I was in my senior year in high school. I was glued to the TV. I was like, all right, let's go. That pick through, I cussed you out so many times, bro. I was like, God damn, like, fuck this dude. Like, but it's all good, man. So, that's a memory I have.
All love, man. All love. Yeah, trust me. I remember that vividly, man.
Yes, sir, man. And then what I wanted to ask you, man, is later down the road, were there things just not working out with you in Kansas City? Because I think they cut you in November, right?
Yes. Yeah. To say the least, man, when I first got to KC, I thought that would be a great situation for me because of the coaching staff with their championship pedigree. But it was very quick. It was very quick when I got there. I realized, yeah, I don't really gel with this. And because of the technique that they were trying to get me to play in my man coverage, I knew, man, I can't do this. And so for several weeks, it really worked on me because it's not conducive to how you play football as far as being successful in man coverage for a corner. So I called up Willie Brown. I called up, I called up my DB coach at the time in Kansas City, Emmett Thomas. I asked him. I asked several people that I knew. I was like, man, can you play successful opening the gate at the line of scrimmage in man coverage when it's not two-man with safeties right over the top? They're like, no, Stan, like you're just asking them to throw 9 routes on you all day long. And so that was a technique that they were trying to get me to play, and I just never was able to buy into it all the way. And so I struggled mentally from trying to buy into what they were trying to teach. So I knew early on this probably won't last long. I knew that. I mean, I just didn't say that to anybody out loud or whatever. But yeah, and then so obviously they cut me. I then go to Houston, but we see throughout the rest of that season, nothing changed, nothing picked up. And then what do you know? That same coaching staff is now coaching for the Houston Texans, and they're struggling in the back end because of, I'm assuming, how they're trying to teach them to play the cornerback position. So I realized then that because somebody has a lot of hardware and because somebody has accolades and they got a lot of they got a lot of slots on their resume from winning championships, this and the other, New England Patriots, what have you, things like that. That does not mean that they're as knowledgeable, and that does not mean that they're as great at their job as their resume would suggest. So yeah, that was definitely something that I should have thought through more looking back on it. But nonetheless, like, you know, that's how life goes. You make choices, they wind up not working out. And, you know, you just throw your hands up and you just use that as, okay, you know what? I got to be smarter next time.
Gotcha, man. You went to the Chiefs. Like I said, they cut you midway. And then you played a little bit for the Houston Texans, man. After that year, were you now still trying to figure out, okay, is there a way I can play football, or were you trying to venture off into other areas at that time?
I think for the most part, I was mentally shot at that time. Once the 2012 season ended, 2013 came along. That's when the NFL started going younger. That's number one. Number two, I was at a point where, do I want to go somewhere and just be the 4th or 5th corner on special teams, whatever? I really wasn't at a point where I wanted to do anything like that. So mentally, from that standpoint, I was already mentally shot because my heart was probably still in Oakland. Things didn't work out in Kansas City. The Houston Texans already were stacked at the cornerback position, things like that. So mentally, I was at a point where, you know what? I'm not sure if I love this enough to still go through this gauntlet, go through the fire like that. So it was easy for me to go ahead and just mentally get to the point where, okay, you know what? I can go ahead and now just move on to something else.
Gotcha. And also, I know that you do you're an how would I call it? You're an analyst?
Yeah.
Would I call it that? How did you get into that field, man? Because I see you on the Colin Hurd show all the time. I know you're a regular over there. I've seen you on NFL Network. I've seen you go back. So how did that set up? And did you think afterwards I wanted to do this, or is it something that just came up?
Man, when I stopped playing football, I honestly did not even have a fucking plan. I didn't. Now, one of the things that was probably the biggest blessing is that I was fortunate enough and I was blessed enough to have made a nice sum of money during my years playing. So when I was done, I didn't have to immediately go into the job workforce. And I remember, so maybe about my first 2 years out, I'm just kind of relaxing, doing a whole lot of nothing. And I'm at the gym. People always run up to me, hey, who do you think is going to win the game this week? You know, Steelers or Ravens, or who should I add to my fantasy team? You know, things like that. Right. And so then one of my friends, he's like, Stan, like, have you ever thought about like doing radio, you know, things like that? And like, you're passionate about the game, you know it well, and you speak it well. So then that's pretty much what kind of led to that. And then all of a sudden I started doing a little bit of radio out here in Houston, a few local access shows. And then it just started just basically building from there. But definitely not something that I always thought of like, man, when I'm done playing, I want to be an analyst. I want to be in broadcasting. Right. Definitely something that I did not foresee while I was playing.
Well, yeah, man, you're doing a very good job, man. Like I said, I like what you were doing. And also, when did it come that you wanted to interview players? Because I see it on your IG all the time. One of my personal favorites is the Dwayne Bowe one. I think that's the favorite one with me. But when did you start to get into that type of field?
Man, I want to say maybe right around the pandemic. The pandemic started, and then obviously everything is done through Zoom. I can no longer go out to Fox Sports out there in LA, things like that. And then my girlfriend, she basically just mentioned, like, why don't you start up your own podcast? And then, you know, before I knew it, I just started kind of slowly getting into it. And then, you know, hitting up certain players that I knew. And then it started going from former players that I played with or against to now current players, things like that. Just kind of, she just gave me the idea, and then I just went ahead and started just going with it.
But, man, like I said, you got quite a catalog, man. You got a list of players, man. So, like I said, congratulations on that. I'm always tuned in. I'm always gonna watch. I also like that you talk about things outside of football, what you were talking about in the beginning. So, like I said, it's good to see somebody bring that type of awareness up, you know, especially with somebody with your platform.
Yeah, Ambry Thomas, a former Michigan Wolverine corner, opted out of this season, is entering the 2021 NFL draft, going to be an early pick. Yeah, I just had him a couple of days ago, and I dropped that on Instagram this morning as far as like our interview together.
So, man, you're doing a lot of good work, man. You got a fan over here just from that outside of football.
Man, same to you, man. I love everything you're doing, man. Happy to be on. Much appreciated. Like I said, anytime you need me, man, just let me know. I'm all here for you.
For sure, man. And then I think two questions and that's it, my man. Like I said, I know that it can be daunting. What is it going to be? Oh, yeah. One of the biggest questions I always want to ask people, football, you've played football for a long time. Have you ever had any like concussions, like way before that, you know, there's a concussion protocol now, but before 2011, I think, did you ever have a serious type of concussion before? Because like I said, you've played in the league where I don't want to say it wasn't the main focus on concussion.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say. But did you get anything serious during your time playing?
No, I never did. Only just had a torn meniscus my third year. That was it. But as far as like concussions, no, I always try to keep my head out of things. So, you know, for corners, a lot of us, you know, the running backs coming to your side or it's a tight end, we're always going low anyways, trying to keep our bodies, keep our head, things like that out of harm's way while still being able to make the tackle if you can. So no, I never had anything of the sort, even close to a concussion or anything like that.
All right, for sure, man. I'm glad to hear it, man. Glad everything's good up there. You know, a lot of people, you know, aren't as fortunate. So I'm glad you're doing well with that, man.
Appreciate
and then this will be my last question, and I'll let you go, man. Last game of the year in Oakland. It was last year, 2019, at the Coliseum. I did see you out there on TV, man. So did they invite you out, or were you just like, hey, I want to come out there for the last go around?
Yeah, they pretty much invited all the former players for that final game. But even if they didn't invite us, you know, officially, I still would have gone because, you know, for me, and one of my biggest, I guess you could say, regrets is that when I left Oakland, obviously that, you know, my heart was still in Oakland. I still love the Oakland Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders. But whenever everything went sour between myself and Reggie McKenzie and Dennis Allen for the way things went down and how I thought it was more personal than football related. When I stopped playing, I wasn't able to be the unsolicited, or should I say unfiltered fan that I really wanted to be for the Oakland Raiders, simply because of my animosity towards the Reggie McKenzie and a Dennis Allen for the way things went down. But after, obviously, Dennis Allen gets fired, then Reggie McKenzie leaves once John Gruden now gets in the fold. That's when now I'm able to fully embrace everything about the Raiders and not have any animosity with the head coach or the GM or something like that. So yeah, definitely it was something I was going to go to regardless. And I'm so glad that I did, because it was a huge nostalgic feeling, feeling being back out there in the Oakland area, being over there off of Hagenberger, seeing 880, being at the Oakland Coliseum, things like that. And it was a real sad feeling, because, now you look at the Bay Area, you still got the 49ers in Santa Clara, but that 510 area code no longer has its baby anymore.
Right.
So like that's something that really kind of touched me, and just seeing, okay, man, I used to play on this field, get interceptions on this field, play with these guys on this field. There will never be another game on this field for an Oakland Raider. And so I'm not sure if they still play high school games on that field. I know the Oakland A's played this past season on that field. I think they're going to be having a new stadium here soon or whatever. But it definitely was something I was not going to miss, that final game, simply because of everything that the Oakland Raiders have done for me personally, and just everything that they bring to that community and just that area of the state. And, with it still being, in my opinion, one of the most storied franchises ever in the history of the NFL. And then, also, I don't know this for a fact. This is, my own opinion, me speculating. I don't think Al D would have ever wanted to leave California. Maybe go back to LA, maybe. Yeah. But I don't think Al would have ever really truly dreamt of the Oakland Raiders being a non-California team. So, so I had a lot of those thoughts running through my mind. But nonetheless, like I said, I've always learned in life that change is inevitable. That's the only thing that's constant in this world is change. Nothing will ever stay the same. So I'm so happy to see that now the Raiders have their own market in the Las Vegas area. I don't think you'll ever see a Reno Chargers or a Reno Packers or whatever.
Couldn't be, man.
So they have the state all to themselves. We all know that the Las Vegas Raiders have a huge fan base, so the West Coast is still able to get to them and go to Allegiant Stadium when obviously the pandemic subsides and they now allow fans. So I love that. Love what they're doing right now, 5-3. Love the direction that John Gruden has them going. Josh Jacobs is a freaking amazing. Derek Carr now finally getting the respect he deserves. Things like that. But yeah, like I said, it was definitely a bittersweet moment seeing that final game, but also knowing so many things that could be coming into play in the future. And also, as a player, I know they love it, because not only is it Sin City, things like that, but it's no state income tax in the state of Nevada. And I can tell you from personal experience, every Tuesday, at the time it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was the governor. Every Tuesday, Uncle Sam is digging deep into your pockets with that state income tax and things like that. So from a player standpoint, they love being the Las Vegas Raiders and not the Oakland Raiders.
It's so, man. And were you able to stay the whole game?
Yeah, stayed the whole game and then left right after. But definitely love that.
So I think this will be the last thing I'll ask. How surprised were you at the end of the game where, we fell short, to the Jacksonville Jaguars? It was a bittersweet moment because you want the win going out. And were you there for the boos that were shouted at the team afterwards? It's mainly Derek Carr,
No, I was there. I was there for that. But like I said, that's how Raider fans are. We all know that. So I wasn't surprised. as far as them blowing the lead, sad to say I wasn't surprised because, like I said, they still have those growing pains that they need to go ahead and learn from. I was there when they played the Houston Texans last year down at NRG Stadium, had the lead, blew it.
Yeah.
They are about to sack Deshaun Watson. Somehow, some way, he gets kicked in the eye, still is able to scramble for the touchdown. So, like I said, I wasn't surprised by it. Wasn't happy to see it, but I wasn't surprised by it or anything like that. But nonetheless, it appears that things are starting to take a turn for the better. We see that they were able to pull out the victory against the Los Angeles Chargers, making a stand at the goal line, 3rd down and 4th down. Great job for them, for Isaiah Johnson, making sure that he got the ball out of there. I forget the tight end's name for the Chargers. But like I said, I wasn't surprised by them blowing the lead against the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. Wasn't surprised by the boost because I know that's how Raider fans are. They're passionate, whether it's good or bad. They're passionate. So no, definitely wasn't surprised. But nonetheless, like I said, I wouldn't have traded for the world actually being at that game, actually soaking up the last few emotions, the last few moments that I could, taking as many pictures, videos, things like that I could. I wouldn't have traded that for the world, whether they would have won by 40 or lost by 40.
For sure, man. And yeah, man, I'll end it right there. I 110% appreciate this, man. Been trying to do it for a while.
Yeah.
Hopefully when the pandemic is over and everything's, cool with the illness, I'm down to take it out there, do an in-person interview again, man.
All good.
Yes,
all
sir,
good,
man.
Just
I appreciate it again.
Just remember, Houston is a long way away from Dallas. Just remember that.
I'll remember that next time I'm out there, man. But yeah, I appreciate you, man. Hope all is well with your podcast, with the interviews, everything. Keep talking the stuff you are. Like I said, you got a fan outside of football, rather than just your football talent, what you're doing with these interviews and the players.
Likewise, bro.
I appreciate it, man. All right, then, Stan, man. I'm gonna hit you up. It probably won't be ready till like Monday or something like that, but I'll let you know when I upload it and everything.
All good, man. All good. I'll go ahead and share it on mine.
All right. Appreciate you, boss. Thank you, man.
Man, be safe, man. Be good.
All right, you too, boss. Thank you.
All right.